First of all, let me say, I am so happy I didn't throw the pulpit off the stage again. It's been about 30 years now, but still. Second of all, don't anybody buy a new stool. Gene Cook gave us 2 more. There's one in each house. I'm going to bring one of those over here because we don't use them. So don't worry about that. And third of all, sorry, I know that's startling for people out there, but
that wasn't you. That was a stool just gave away, right?
No. That was my hip that gave way.
It was.
It destroyed the stool, but it was my hip.
I thought it was just the stool gave away. Did you get hurt?
I should not have. I'm going to hang on to this right here, but I should not have gone because I know better. There are some things as you get older, you learn that you can't do them, and especially if you have. There are a lot of people my age who still run up and down stairs. I see them at conference every year. And then there are others of us who
use the elevator.
Thank you. Good one. Use the elevator. Use the elevator. So, on that note, because I was actually going to start off talking about some things in the 60s, believe it or not, and I had thought about even playing a couple of songs, but I wasn't, sometimes, I know my congregation pretty well, but there are some things that I'm not sure quite how some people would take them. And when I was a kid, a teenager, because I was actually a teenager in the 60s, believe it or not, yes, that's true. I was a teenager in the 60s. And we were quite... I can't even think of a good word for it. Anyway, we innovative. We were quite innovative. And there were things that we liked to do in our worship services. And although I belong to a very, very, very conservative Baptist church, I belong to a very, very, very liberal denomination. The American Baptists are not known for their conservatism. Southern Baptists are, the American Baptists are. And our church was jointly aligned. So I had both. But in one of the youth worship things that we were doing, I figured out that Simon and Garfunkel, everybody here heard of Simon and Garfunkel? All right. Simon and Garfunkel do some really good things. And some of their music is almost theological. And we came up with a whole worship service. On Wednesday morning, 3 a.m., which is a Simon and Garfunkel album. And one of the songs on there, some of you will recognize this one. One of the songs on there is Boxer. Now that one, I'm not quite sure how we were going to fit that one in, but it was there. However, and see this one, maybe some of you remember better than I do. I don't remember, it was 1967 or 1968 that they came out with Bridge Over Troubled Water. Yes. Now, Bridge Over Troubled Water, if you take the I in it and put it with God, it's a great hymn. Even where he talks about the Silver Girl, come on Silver Girl, sail on by. That has a place. That's in the sermon this morning, by the way. But I was going to play that. I was also going to play the other one, Josh Groban, and you Raise Me Up. You know that one?
Yeah.
You know that? I've sung that as a solo in church. In church.
I bet Susan could do it.
I'll bet Susan could do it better than I can because it's pitched awfully high. I have to go down a whole octave and a half in order just to get it to make my voice so it doesn't scratch. And I don't think I can do it anymore because my voice is actually leaving me. But here's the thing. Neither of these were written as Christian songs. Now, I did not know that You Raise Me Up was not a Christian song until probably 4 years ago. It sounds Christian to me. It sounds theologically correct. It's a love song. And if you ever see the Josh Groban video that goes with it, anybody in here can watch this Josh Groban video. There's nothing in it that's outrageous, okay? But it gives you a little better idea of what it really is about. But having said all of that, if you haven't learned this yet, our God is a mighty God. Amen. Our God is a mighty God, and He can turn Christian out of secular. Amen. We can take Christian and turn it to secular. He takes secular and turns it to Christian. And He can make it so that we understand His Word better sometimes when we listen to that kind of stuff. The other reason I decided against playing, because I'm not sure how some of you would have taken it, and I didn't ask my diaconate. But the other reason I didn't is because those two songs together are 10 minutes. That would have been a very long sermon, or say that I was totally unprepared. You take your pick. All right? All right, so this all has a purpose. One of the things that is said in Scripture is that God will hide these things from the wise and intelligent and reveal them to children. So this morning, if you don't mind turning with me, looking at Matthew chapter 11, I'm going to read 25 through 30. And Jesus had just talked about unrepenting cities and what was going to happen to them. But He also says that at that time Jesus answered and said, I praise Thee, O Father, Lord of heaven and earth, that Thou didst hide these things from the wise and intelligent and didst reveal them to babies. Yes, Father, for thus it was well-pleasing in Thy sight. All things have been handed over to me by my Father, and no one knows the Son except the Father, nor does anyone know the Father except the Son, and anyone to whom He will reveal Him. Come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you shall find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my load is light. Who can know Yahweh except that the Father is shown by the Son? Everyone has their days when we feel like we are all alone in the world. I don't care how close you are to God, we are not God. We are human. And we have these days when you just feel like you're out there somewhere. And to be honest, this morning I'm kind of there. And it's not so much living in a hotel room, you know, that I got used to pretty quick. But it's kind of like everything else, it's just coming in. And I found out this week, I think it was, that they are giving us yet another piece of paper and another evaluation that we have to do. And I asked Kelly last night, do they want us to teach the kids or do they want us to do paperwork? You know, that kind of stuff, all of us, sometimes in our jobs, it just feels like you're overwhelmed.
Too much.
Too much.
Yes.
It's too much. And if you work for the government, you know, they have this paper limit plan that's been in place for I don't know how many. I cannot even remember when they did it. You know, we're supposed to be a green society and not chop down trees and make paper, right? Well, the more you work for the government, the more paperwork you do.
Amen.
I'm not harping on the government this morning. It's an example, okay? I'm not harping on them. They have their reasons, they have their purposes. I understand, you know, there are good teachers, there are bad teachers, there are mediocre teachers. I'm in the mediocre range, honestly. I'm not a great teacher. I'm not a bad teacher, great teacher. But the point is, you know, you get all this stuff. I'm retiring. I'm retiring. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to be with my kids. My kids are great. Even on a bad day for them, I think I came in and told you guys, I had a kid that came up and literally screamed right in my ear, and I lost my hearing for probably 2-3 days. It was just kind of, I still love Daniel. He's a good kid. He's frustrated. We have those days when we wonder, is there any hope? In Psalm 46, God tells us to be still and know that I am God. I am Yahweh. Even if you don't understand it, even if you don't know, even if you don't realize, I'm there. And I have a plan. And I have that plan for you. And although I want you to worship me, although I want you to understand what I'm about, there's a reason for that. And there's a reason that this plan is there for you. And we come back with what? We come back with, I don't have time to be still. Right? I don't have time to be still. Give me a break. I don't have time to take care of this, and if I don't take care of this, no one else will. You ever feel that way? If I don't do it, it's not going to get done. This is a little harsh, but I'm going to use it anyway. You know, I learned, when my dad died, I learned that other people are going to take over for the things that you don't do. Okay? When my dad died, he was putting away the Christmas stuff. He was putting away the Christmas stuff. He had to go to the hospital to pick up my mother and bring her back. He didn't want the Christmas stuff out. Trust me, I grew up with my mama. You wouldn't have wanted the Christmas stuff out either. I love my mom. But there were certain things, and my dad, they'd been married for 56, 57 years, and he picked his battles. He didn't just, so he was going to make sure, so he had all this Christmas stuff put away, but then because he had it put away, he was late, so he wasn't paying attention in the car, and that was it. But, you know, there were a few things that he left out. I put them away. When I got down there 2 days later, I put them away. And then I look at my job and I go, you know, if I'm not teaching these kids next year, somebody else is going to be in there. I haven't been there this whole week, and I won't be there next week. And I left a whole stack of Black history, social studies, and I left instructions on how to do it. And I know when I go back, the most important pieces aren't going to be done, but the fun stuff will be done. And life will go on. Be still. Be still and know that I am. And I watch out for you. God, Yahweh, Elohim watches out for you. It's time for us to stop and lay down that burden, that set of ceremony that we think that we have to pick up and take. Because when you read this, the word heavy laden, it's come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and the word actually implies heavy laden with ceremony. Heavy laden with ceremony. That's not just all of the other stuff. It's not just the weight of the world that's on you. It's the ceremony that you put into your life. You know, like my tools in my toolbox have to be put in the right notch on the SAE side, and there are two sides there. On the SAE side, it's the quarters and the halves and the 3/8 and the, okay, all of that stuff has to be in the right place, and it has to be 3/8 drive, half drive, 3/4 drive, 1-inch drive, okay, all of that on this side. And over on this side, you better have my metrics. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And they better be in place, and if they're not, I'm going to be mad. I told you I'm not saved, and I am a sinner. And that's one of them. You're mad if my tools are put back where they belong, as they belong. That's ceremony, people. That's not important. I'm standing up here right now talking to myself as much as I'm talking to you. That's ceremony. That's not important. If all 3 of my toolboxes and my rolling tool stand disappeared overnight, life would go on. But we get tied up in that. We get tied up in our jobs. We get tied up in our world. We get tied up in the fact, you know, I've got 2 books that I'm supposed to outline that aren't outlined, and I'm sitting here terrified that if I don't get those things outlined, the whole world's going to end because I'm not going to get a good grade in this seminar. Well, you know what? Life will go on. Right? Life will go on. Be still. Why is it that people have to be stronger than our God? If you have an answer for that, and a real answer, not just because we all have our ideologies, right? We all have our ideologies, but I bet you none of us have a real answer for that. Why is it that we have to be stronger than God? Because we all do. In one area or another, I will guarantee you there's some place where you have to be stronger than God. This is not a jab at anybody's parent, but I'm going to ask this question. Did your parents ever pray with you? Because some of us are Christians that come out of homes that don't have parents that are Christian. You know what else? Some of us are Christians who have parents that never prayed with us. Some of us are parents that never prayed with our kids. Because we let life get us. Doesn't make you a bad parent. It makes you wonder what else happens. When the storms of life come up, what was it that your family had as a go-to? What was it that they always did when all the crises, because crises happen in families, what is it that happened when a crisis came up? When the unseen comes up in your life, Moving on, the Mackinac Bridge. The Mackinac Bridge between the UP and the Lower Peninsula. Anybody here ever been, besides us Michiganders, anybody ever been on that bridge? All right. So, you get on that bridge. You get up to the bridge. It's got this ramp that goes up on either side. You get up to the bridge itself, which is 5 miles long. Just the bridge is 5 miles long. Nothing inclines on either side. The bridge itself is 5 miles long. I don't know if it's still the longest suspension bridge in the world, but when it was built in 1957, it was the longest suspension bridge in the world. All right? That bridge, the two outside lanes are paved. The two inside lanes are this steel grate that have about 2-inch grates with half-inch metal. Okay? Yeah, talk to some other people. They'll tell you the same thing. When you get on that bridge, and you're on the outside lanes, and you can see the stormy water, but you know you're safe. because you know you're on something solid and you're safe. But you get on those two inside lanes. Now think about this. The outside lanes are paved. The inside lanes are the grates. Okay? But if you're driving on the inside lanes in stormy weather, all kinds of havoc can happen. You can be driving along and all of a sudden your car just shifts. And big old cars used to shift. If you travel on the inside lane, you hear the roar of the grate and the winds just drive you crazy because they're coming up through that and you know they are. And that's life. You can be on the outside lanes and know you're safe, but you get on those inside lanes and you know that God's right there. God is right there. Come to me, all you who are weak and overburdened with ceremonious weight. Because that ceremonious weight is everything that takes your heart, your mind, your soul away from God. Who, not what, who is your bridge over troubled water? Everything that you try to deal with on your own just seems to go the wrong way. And you keep on trying. Any farmers in here? No. Close. All right. Well, everybody in here, I'm sure, has at least seen a picture of a yoke. Those big old heavy oak yokes. Jesus says to take my yoke and learn. When I was a kid, I thought, why? Why would I even want to try to pick that stupid thing up? And I'm not just talking about the big old oak ones. I'm talking too about the little leather ones that are one animal yoke. Why would anybody want to pick those up? My grandfather was not a farmer when I was born, but he still had a lot of farm equipment in his garage. I saw that stuff. I tried to pick up one of those yokes when I was 10, 11. The leather one, people, the leather one, not the oak. You know what the yoke does? The yoke distributes the weight. So it doesn't matter how heavy that thing is, and the oxen and the horses that use them can bear that on their shoulders, because it doesn't ride up on their neck, it rides down on their shoulders, and they can bear it on their shoulders because it distributes the weight so that when they pull, they can pull whatever it is they need out of the place that they're stuck in. And that's the purpose of the yoke. That's why they have that, is so that you keep the animals in step, but it's also so you distribute the weight so nobody's pulling the whole load. Why do you try to take it all on yourself? Do you not know that God is here? Do you not know that God is with you every minute of every day, waking or sleeping?
Amen.
Or are you just willing to wait and see when Yahweh will come to see you? So, the other song, When Are You Strong? When are you strong? That's Josh Groban, by the way, in case you lost. When are you strong? Where's your strength? We think that we are strong when we can lift a 300-pound weight. We think we're strong when as a little kid you can pick up the leather collar or the oak yoke. It takes much more strength to distribute the weight onto the shoulders of God. That's one I haven't learned. I can stand here and say that because I know that. You know, I go along, things go straight, things are fine, everything's under control, my tools are where they ought to be, my studies are where they ought to be, everything, my car's running great, everything's going along great. Let me tell you about the time that we were driving the DeSoto to Washington State. It was 2000. In 2000, we took the DeSoto coast to coast. Okay? And we got to Bozeman, Montana. Anybody here ever been to Bozeman, Montana? I got a lot of raise your hands here today, okay? Anybody here ever been to Bozeman, Montana? Okay? We got to Bozeman, Montana. Now I can tell you Bozeman's a nice town. But we got to Bozeman and all of a sudden actually I don't think it was me, I think it was Kelly heard a sewing machine under the hood of the car, this 50-year-old car. And she's hearing this sewing machine. She says, "What's that?" And I said, "I don't know, the brakes aren't working." Because the brakes have quit at the same time. Said, "I don't know what's going on. I'm going on a down thing out of a gas station into a busy Bozeman street." And yes, Bozeman does have busy streets. And right outside of a Kmart. And right across the street from our motel, and all I want to do is get to the stupid motel. And get that car put in a parking spot so that I can go to bed and worry about it in the morning. Well, I did, and we got it across. And I woke up the next morning, and I was busy throwing my little temper tantrum because things weren't going right. And I yanked open this Hemmings Motor News. Now, if you're not a car person, you don't know what a Hemmings is. It's called the Restorer's Bible for cars. You can get anything for any car. You ever heard of a Borg Ward? Okay. Oh, somebody else here knows what Borg Ward is. I didn't think you did. It's a rare German car. We actually had one. But, you know, you can get stuff for Borg Wards in that magazine. I'm ripping this thing open thinking, where am I going to get whatever it is that I need, because this car is not going to make it out of Bozeman, Montana. And something fell on the floor and I just ignored it and went on. And my lovely wife kept trying to get me to look at this paper, and I said, "I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that." And she says, "If you look at it, there's an 800, you know how patient she can be? If you look at it, there's an 800 number. And if you call them, they guarantee you that within hours, they will tell you where you can find whatever it is you need." Well, I finally figured it out that it was my generator had gone bad. And I said, "In Bozeman, Montana, where the Sam Hill, you're going to find a generator for a 1954 DeSoto." She said, "Why don't you pray about it? And why don't you call that stupid 800 number?" So I called the 800 number. Half an hour later, Hemmings in New Hampshire. Now the name begins with B. I can't remember the name. Anyway, this Hemmings in New Hampshire called me back and they said, "We have 3 places for you. There's a guy right there in Bozeman. He says he'll have it rebuilt for you within a day and a half. And then there's this guy about 5 miles out. He says he might have one out in the field somewhere. He needs to go look. But then there's this third guy. He's 20 miles away, and he says he can rebuild it for you." And I, because I don't believe anybody, called the guy that's 20 miles away. And he says, "I'll have it back to you by noon." And I said, "Yeah, right." And he said, "Just go out, take it off the car. My daughter's going to come in to get it." Okay, I'm expecting farm girl something. Okay, big red Chevy came pulling in, and she has this big old Doberman sitting in the front seat. Her hair is all wet, and you can tell that Dad got her out of bed. And very cute. And Dad got her out of bed and said, "Go into Bozeman and get this thing." And she rose down to the window enough that I can shove this thing through. And by noon, she was back, all fresh and nice, no Doberman, windows down. And she says, here's your generator. And I said, "How much do you want?" And I'm thinking, I'll pay her anything. I'll pay her anything. She says, $80. She says, "He even painted it for you." Why do you get all upset? Why did I get all upset? God did not, I mean, there are things that God tells you to do, and got things that God allows you to do. And I know that God allowed us to take that trip, and my kids still talk about it. I know it wasn't, and I know that He wouldn't let me get out in the middle of Bozeman, Montana, and just let me sit there. But at that particular moment, I didn't want to hear about God. I didn't want to hear about Hemmings. I didn't want to hear about the stupid piece of paper on the floor. You been there? And there's a reason I told that long story. It wasn't just to waste your time. We've all been there. Some way or another. It takes much more strength to distribute the weight onto the shoulders. And He said, "I am gentle and humble of heart, and you will find rest for your souls." And He also, the writer of Simon and Garfunkel's song, this is one of my favorite places actually, is where he says, "Come on, silver girl, sail on by." I'm sailing right behind. And that's where God is most of the time. You don't put Him out in front where He's leading, but He's not going to forsake you because you put Him behind you. He says, "Sail on by." He says, "I'm still here. I'm still here." Yahweh is always right there with us. When we are confident that we can handle life, God lets you sail on ahead and be out in front. But He's right there when that storm hits, when the stupid generator goes out, when the dual points on the Hemi engine go out, and you're in the middle of some mountain town in Western Oregon. He's right there. When you're down and out, and your soul is so weary, when trouble comes, and your heart is burdened, be still and wait. Be still and wait. Because He will raise you up. And we don't have to take it. We don't have to take on the whole burden without a yoke, without the distribution. Because His yoke is easy and His load is light. Because He has raised you up to make you strong as long as you give Him the glory and the credit.
Amen.
Turn with me to number 546, For All the Saints, number 546.